On the morning of January 24th, 1948, in a cold prison courtyard in Kraków, a 36-year-old Austrian woman was led to a gallows. Just 3 years earlier, she had been one of the most powerful women in the entire Nazi system, a woman who decided with the flick of a finger who lived and who walked into the gas. They called her the Beast. But the most disturbing thing about Maria Mandl was not her cruelty, it was her taste. Because while tens of thousands of women were marched past her to their deaths, Maria Mandl wanted music playing. This is the story of how she got there and how it ended. To understand the woman on that gallows, you have to go back to a quiet village in Austria and follow an ordinary clerk's daughter as she became something the world had no word for. Stay with me, because the turn she takes the moment an ordinary woman chooses to become a monster is the part of this story that should frighten you most. Maria Mandl was born on January 10, 1912, in Münzkirchen, a small town in Upper Austria. Her father was a shoemaker. By every account, her early life was unremarkable. A normal girl in a normal town, the kind of person you would never look at twice. That is the first uncomfortable truth of this story. Mandl was not born a killer. She was made into one, step by step, and at every step she said yes. In 1938, after Germany annexed Austria, the 26-year-old Mandl applied for a job, not in a factory, not in an office. She applied to become a guard, an Aufseherin, at the Lichtenberg concentration camp. She was hired, and almost immediately, her superiors noticed something useful about her. She was good at it. She was disciplined. She was ambitious, and she had no apparent limit. She was transferred to Ravensbrück, the camp built specifically for women. There, Mandl rose fast. She learned the craft of the camp, the roll calls that lasted for hours in the freezing cold, the beatings, the punishment cells. Survivors from Ravensbrück later remembered her as someone who did not just follow orders. She enjoyed them. She was promoted to senior supervisor, and the Nazi machine, always looking for talent, decided she was ready for something bigger. In October 1942, Maria Mandl was sent to Auschwitz. At Auschwitz-Birkenau, Mandl was made SS-Lagerführerin, the head of the entire women's camp. She commanded all the female guards. Tens of thousands of women and children passed under her authority, and here her power became absolute. Mandl took part in the selections. When the trains arrived, the SS sorted the new arrivals, those who could work to one side, those who would be killed immediately to the other. Survivors testified that Mandl carried out these selections personally, sending women and children to the gas chambers with a gesture. After the war, she was held responsible for the deaths of hundreds of thousands of prisoners. The number most often cited at her trial was around 500,000. Try to hold that number for a moment. Not as a statistic, as a fact about one human being's choices. But here is where Maria Mandl becomes something stranger and darker than an ordinary murderer, because Maria Mandl loved music. In 1943, she created the Women's Orchestra of Auschwitz. She gathered the camp's imprisoned musicians, professional violinists, singers, conductors, women who had once played in the concert halls of Europe, and she formed them into an ensemble. Among them was Alma Rose, a brilliant Viennese violinist, the niece of the composer Gustav Mahler. The orchestra played at the camp gates. They played as the work columns marched out in the morning and as they staggered back at night. And, according to survivors, they sometimes played while selections were carried out. Music drifting over the platform as women were divided into the living and the dead. For the musicians, the orchestra was survival. As long as Mandl wanted her music, they were useful, and useful prisoners lived a little longer. They understood exactly what they were. A small mercy handed out by the same woman who could erase them on a whim. And Mandl could be sentimental. There is a story survivors told that she once took a small child from an incoming transport, a little boy, and kept him for a few days like a pet. She fed him, she doted on him, and then, when she grew bored, she sent him to the gas chamber with the rest. That is the thing you cannot reconcile. The woman who wept at a violin solo was the same woman who signed the orchestra's protectors over to death when it suited her. There was no contradiction in her. The music and the murder lived in the same person, comfortably side by side. Ask yourself a question here, because it matters. Was Maria Mandl insane? It would be easier if she were. A monster is easier to understand than a normal, cultured woman who simply decided that other people's lives did not count. The court that would eventually judge her did not find a lunatic. They found someone who knew exactly what she was doing and chose it. Quick pause before we get to how it ended for her. If a channel that tells these stories with some care is something you want more of, take a second to hit like and subscribe. This channel is small, and on YouTube, that one tap is the whole difference between a story like this reaching the next person or vanishing. That's it. Back to it. By 1944, the war was turning. In November, Mandl was transferred to the Mühldorf camp, a sub-camp of Dachau. And as the Reich collapsed around her in the spring of 1945, the woman who had sent 500,000 people to their deaths did what almost all of them did when the end came. She ran. Mandl fled south, back toward the Austrian mountains where she had been born, back to her father's region, as if she could simply disappear into the landscape of her childhood. In August 1945, American troops caught her. The Americans handed her over to Poland, the country where her crimes had been committed, and in 1947, Maria Mandl was placed on trial in Kraków in what became known as the Auschwitz Trial. The evidence against her was overwhelming. Survivor after survivor took the stand, including women from the orchestra she had created, women who owed their lives to her whim, and who now described, calmly and precisely, what she had done. They spoke of the selections, the beatings, the child she had kept and discarded. Mandl, in the dock, was not the towering figure they remembered from the camp. She was smaller now. By some accounts, she showed flickers of remorse. By others, none at all. But remorse was not the question in front of the court. The question was what she had done, and what she had done was not in doubt. On December 22, 1947, the court delivered its verdict. Guilty. The sentence was death. Maria Mandl was taken to Montelupich prison in Kraków, and on the morning of January 24, 1948, the sentence was carried out. She was 36 years old. There was no orchestra for her. No violins, no Mahler, none of the music she had loved enough to build a band of slaves to play it for her. Just a cold courtyard, a short walk, and a silence that the women of Auschwitz had been denied for years. The Beast of Auschwitz died quickly, far more quickly and far more mercifully than the hundreds of thousands she had condemned. That is the uncomfortable arithmetic of justice. It can punish. It can never balance. We remember the men at the top of the Nazi machine, the names from the history books. But Maria Mandl is a reminder that the machine ran on people like her, not masterminds, not lunatics. Ordinary people who applied for a job, were told they were good at it, and kept climbing, past every line a human being is supposed to refuse to cross, and who, somewhere along the way, learned to sign a death warrant in the morning and weep at a concert that night. The orchestra she built survived her. Some of those musicians lived and walked out of Auschwitz and told the world what they had seen. The music outlasted the beast. If this story held you, there are dozens more like it. The names history tried to bury, and the verdicts that found them anyway. Before you go, I want your take in the comments. Maria Mandl wept at a violin solo and signed children over to the gas the same afternoon. Does her love of music make her more monstrous, or does it make her human in a way we'd rather not admit? Tell me below. I read them. And if it held you, like this video and subscribe. A new story arrives every Saturday. The guilty, the forgotten, the reckoning.